Welcome, dreamer. Welcome to Please Tell Me Your Dream. Delighted to have you here. So, would you mind telling us a little bit about yourself?
Sure. So I work in diversity, equity, and inclusion, and also simultaneously in teaching yoga, more recently in trauma-informed yoga. And I am very new to this world of exploring my dreams. I'm like a kindergartner, so I'm very excited to be here.
Oh, I'm so glad to have you. And what important work you do. I'm so glad that you're in that field. That is terribly important work. So, welcome again. And please tell me your dream.
I had this dream back in 2019, and it stuck with me ever since. It was 1 week after my grandmother passed, and we were very close. She lived very close to the beach, and there was like literally like a block and a half. So in the dream, I'm on the boardwalk that's literally a block and a half down from her house, and it's a gray beach day. It's the kind of gray where everything is just kind of blank, like there's no texture in the clouds. It's just like all white. And my grandmother is sitting in her wheelchair there on the boardwalk. She's on my left-hand side. She's on a diagonal and she's looking out over the ocean. Yeah, the last year or so of her life, she was wheelchair bound. So, but even then, she would still get down to the boardwalk in her wheelchair and just take in the beach. So she's on my left and she's on a diagonal. So she's looking at the ocean. So I can just see her right profile. And it's, kind of melancholy, like she's looking very serious, and she was always like very chatty and humorous, but in the dream she was very serious and she was just looking at the ocean. So I orient myself so I'm facing the same direction that she is, and I start looking, and then all of a sudden she takes out a piece of paper. Like, she didn't even take it out, it just appeared in her hands. And she folded it in half, right? So it was in front of my face. So it's like I'm seeing like where the ocean meets the sky, and I'm seeing her in my periphery on my left. And then she takes a piece of paper and puts it in front of my face, folds it in half, and then pokes a hole through the two pieces. And then she unfolds it. So now I can see the two holes, and I can see like the sky and the ocean and the sand through the two holes. And right about there was when I woke up, and the dream really felt like she was trying to, I felt like there was such a strong message, but to this day, I'm like, what the heck was it? And I don't really remember my dreams, but this one, this one, it's been in there for 5 years.
Oh, what a dream. I am so excited to work with you about this. So I'm gonna shift a little bit to this.
Mm-hmm.
And let's just see what happens with this dream. Can we start with your grandmother?
Mm-hmm.
We'll just spend some time with her now. This dream took place just within days of her death.
Yeah, no more than a week.
Yeah. So first, tell us her name.
Rose.
Ah, lovely. Okay. And you were very close, you said?
Yeah, very close.
Okay. So tell us just give us some words to describe her.
Loving, resilient, strong-headed, and open-minded.
Whose mother was she?
My father's.
And she was in your life throughout your childhood.
100%. Yeah.
How fortunate for
Yeah.
you.
Yeah.
And how old were you when she died?
31.
Oh, so you really had her all the way into adulthood, well into adulthood.
Yeah, I did.
Oh, how marvelous. And so how was she at the end of her life? She was in a wheelchair, but was she mentally sharp still? Everything?
Yeah. Yeah, she
Mhm,
was definitely more anxious because she was very independent. So
mhm,
being wheelchair bound and having to be dependent on other people for her day-to-day activities,
mhm.
it was very hard for her.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, so there was definitely like a lot of anxiety
Mhm.
coming from her like the last year of her life.
Understandably so. Yeah. Yeah. Okay. And so what influence did she have on you? What do you think you got from her? And I'll give you an example of what I'm talking about. My own grandmother had a particular sense of style, and I know for a fact that that's what I got from her. She also had a particular way of communicating with people that kind of fell to me, if you will. So I don't know, can you identify what you got from her?
It's a really good question. I've never actually thought about it. What did I get from her? I definitely think like being a peacekeeper in the family. I definitely see that coming from her to my dad and to me.
In a way that influences your work now?
Oh yeah.
Uh-huh. Yes. Okay. Couple of things. We are certainly looking at your grandmother Rose as she was. We also think about when grandmother shows up in a dream. We also think about the archetype of the mother, meaning that we're all kind of walking around, well, as human beings with a larger idea of mother that's kind of implanted in us as just part of our humanity. The mother archetype has to do with a lot of how we take care of ourselves and how we relate to others and how we nurture ourselves and how we nurture others, and all the things that a good mother does is in the archetype or the big idea of mother. And so when we dream of our grandmothers, even, the grandmothers that we know and love very well, there's an echo of this bigger mother archetype in there as well.
Mhm.
Again, it has to do with nurture of self and others. It has to do with relatedness with other folks. And so I just want to mention that. The other thing I want to say about this, though, Dreamer, is that coming so quickly after her death also puts it in the category of a grief dream.
Hmm.
And what I mean by that is that when someone that close to us and that important to us and somebody that's been in our lives since our birth has passed away, has died, we have of course, we have a intellectual apprehension of this. We understand that this has happened, but it takes quite a while for the deeper aspects of our psyche to realign with the reality of that, you know? And that's what the grief process is all about, is that we understand it deeper and deeper and deeper, that this person has passed and that in this life at least we won't see them again. That's what grief is. And we get these dreams sometimes to, if not help the process, at least it gives us an idea of how that process is going. So if we're going to think about it in terms of it being a grief dream, here's a question I have for you. What was the overall feeling tone of the dream?
Like like she was trying to to tell me something, to
Okay.
show me
Hmm.
something, but I
Hmm.
couldn't and still can't figure it out. The overall feeling was like it was like a lesson, you know?
Yes.
Yeah, but a lesson that I didn't understand.
Hmm. Hmm. Okay. All right. So let's move then to another element of the dream, if that's okay. And we reserve the right to come back, and speak more about that. So the setting of the dream was at the beach, which was in fact near where she lived. Is that
Mhm.
so? Say a little bit about that place.
Ugh, it's my favorite place in the entire world. I've spent every summer there since I was a kid. Um, I would go there with my father's whole family. So it was like a really big like kind of community space. Aunts, uncles, all my cousins. So it was really like a very joyous place for me because the ocean is amazing, and then also just all this extended family. It really was like a community, like a because my grandmother's house was quite large. So, I mean, it would be like 20 people there every weekend throughout the entire summer. Yeah, so it was like a place of play and connection and awe. And yeah.
Tell me more. You said the ocean is amazing. So say more about the ocean.
Oh, I've been trying to put it into words for years. The ocean is just someplace I have felt drawn to ever since I was a kid. Being next to it, in it, on top of it. I could sit by the ocean all day, every day. Even in these winter months, I make sure to get down there and just take long walks. I talk to the ocean. Um, when I'm by the ocean, I feel like my thoughts have more space and I just feel much more connected to this like greater life around me. And it's very calming for me as well.
I think that the setting of this dream, at first blush, it seems absolutely obvious that within a few days of grandmother's death, that you would dream of her in this place. But I want to suggest going a little bit deeper on that,
Sure.
a little bit deeper, especially in light of what you just said about your thoughts having more space and connected to greater life. I want to kind of drill down on this just a little bit. In certain schools of dream work and dream psychology, the ocean is a stand in, often, not always, but is a stand in for the unconscious itself.
Mm.
But more than the unconscious, it's sort of like the shared consciousness of humanity, also called the collective unconscious, meaning there's this deep, deep place in us that we share with every other human on the planet, as well as humans from time immemorial. This shared fount of wisdom and human experience that we carry around a little piece of it all the time. And it's in our dreams, the ocean sometimes is that's the stand-in for that.
Mhm.
And the word you used earlier was awe. To contrast that with a dream beside a lake or beside a pond or beside a river or beside a pool, those bodies of water are contained, but the ocean is not. It
Mm.
is all over the world. And so I think that in this dream, we need to be aware of that, and that the beach is the place where the ocean and the land meet, where the unconscious and consciousness meet. So it's that in-between frontier, if you will, between this great unconscious and our own waking life understanding of something. So it's extremely significant place for this dream to take place if we think about it in that deeper way. And because it is so wonderful, that the memories of it are so wonderful, that makes this dream and the setting of this dream and whatever your grandmother is presenting to you in this dream, this gives it a very safe and even spiritual container for that teaching that is coming from her. So this is big. There's a lot here. There's a lot. Again, I want to really underline the word all that you used, and this connected to greater life, and the fact this that you talk to the ocean is marvelous, just wonderful. I wonder sometimes, this is just a comment. I wonder sometimes that we don't, in our rapid fire lives that we live, our thoughts don't have enough space, and we don't give ourselves a chance to talk to the bigger parts of ourselves. Yeah. And the dream is really pointing that out. So whatever this message is that she's giving you, I think is a very important one. I'm going to pause. How are you feeling about this process or about what we're doing?
It's amazing. Incredible.
Okay. Now, so the next aspect of the dream is this. I do want to make a comment on looking that she is on your left. Are you left-handed by any chance, or right-handed?
I'm right-handed.
Right-handed. Okay. So the left, especially for right-handed folks, is the non-dominant hand, right? Mm-hmm. If I misspell something, you can correct me or forgive me. The non-dominant hand. So the left often is a stand-in for the unconscious. If the left is referenced in a dream, especially if you're right-handed, we can think about this as being the unconscious. And so there she is on the left. And it is so interesting that she is not presenting the way she did in waking life. In other words, she's mighty serious. Yeah. As opposed to lively or, as you said, chatty. So there's something serious going on here. There's a seriousness about this. So I wanted to mention that. And she is looking out across the beach and across the water into the horizon. Yes?
Yes.
Okay. And then you follow her train of vision to see what she's looking at. Mm-hmm. Okay. When you do that, that's when you get the piece of paper?
Yeah. Or it might have even been fabric, but it was white and square. Yeah.
Oh, okay. So first of all, there was a looking out. And I'm thinking in terms of the horizon. And, correct me if I'm a wrong dreamer, but this is what you do when you go to the beach. You look out.
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm wondering if she's directing your attention to looking out over the horizon in a way that's inviting you to think about life and death in bigger ways, to really, really think about her passing and life itself in a broader, bigger way. Like you said in our previous sheet, going to the beach gives your thoughts space. And I wonder if she's really inviting you around that and the real thinking about life and death itself. even as you cope with the grief of losing her. That's the idea that just came to me. I'm going to ask you, does that sound like anything that might be ringing true for you?
Yes, because I remember this now. I don't know if you've ever seen the movie Interstellar with Matthew McConaughey.
I haven't, but tell me.
So they're, long story short, they're going through space to try to save Earth. And
Hmm.
they have to travel light years and they run out of fuel. And there's a point in the movie where it kind of seems like all is lost and like they're not gonna be able to travel into where these light
Hmm.
years to where they need to get. And they show a piece of paper and they show this graph, like one line
Uh-huh.
is time, one line is space. And then they say what they need to do is we need to change how we look at it. So they fold the paper in half. We
Aha.
need to travel this way. So this totally kind of breaks your brain, kind of instead of thinking of time and space as these very linear things,
Mhm.
they fold the paper in half so they kind of fold on each other. And now
Yes.
the distance becomes so much smaller to where they need to go to. And I remember waking up and thinking like, oh my God, that was almost exactly like that scene in Interstellar, where they just take time and space and just fold it in on itself.
Oh my gosh, Dreamer, I love that.
Yeah.
I'm wondering if your grandmother is in fact telling you just that,
Yeah.
that now that she is passed, she knows that goes back to some ideas about physics, quantum physics, and how time curves and, those really massive ideas that are a little bit outside of my own intellectual reach, but intriguing to think about.
Yeah.
I That's the feeling I'm getting about this dream, is that it's really so much bigger. At the same time, on a different level, it is indeed a grief dream around grandma, around grandmother. But that is the coolest. All right, let's make some notes about this real quick because I don't want to lose that. You've got a something white, square, and you've got the holes. And how big were the holes that she poked in it?
Oh, small, maybe the size of a pinky fingernail.
Okay, so
But
she had a little bitty holes poked in there, and then she folded it
so she folded it and then
and
poked.
poked the holes.
Yeah.
Okay,
So then
okay.
when she unfolded it, there were two holes. Yeah.
And there's an identification with all of that with the movie Interstellar.
Hmm.
Now you realize, of course, I have to go see this movie.
You must. It's such a good movie.
All right. The movie Interstellar, which comments on time and space and how we must think differently about it.
Hmm. And love. Love was a big theme in the movie as well.
And love. You had seen that movie prior to grandmother passing away.
Oh, several times. Yeah.
Oh, okay. Okay. So what's interesting about this, dreamer, is that our dreams will speak to us in the language that we will understand.
Hmm.
Our dreams will give us imagery that we will get it. We will get. And so your immediate association of what she did here with that movie and what it meant and this, I think we got it. I think that's what this is. And then how to apply it then to your practical waking life, how to remember to think about things in a more spacious way or in a different way and not so linear way, and how to include this in everything because she represents this too. Just to her very being represents this. My experience of both of my grandmothers was unconditional love, and I'm kind of hearing that from you.
Oh yeah, definitely.
And so if this were my dream, I think this is inviting you to look at things differently, to think about them differently and to look at them differently. And I do think that it is a dream that's kind of a reassurance to you of her, that you have her within you. When somebody we love dies and we dream about them, I think, on two levels, or we can. Is it really them? Is it them? They've come back from wherever they have passed on to pay us a visit and pay us a visit in our dreams. Also, though, we have incorporated the people that we love into our own psyche. They are part of us and will be forever. And so they will show up in our dreams and represent back to us all of those things that you associated with her. So how is this sounding to you?
Yeah. Just really beautiful, and also just, yeah, like it's a lot.
Mm.
It's a lot.
Often these little bitty dreams have more in them than long involved dreams.
Hmm.
They really have a lot of meaning packed into them. And the fact that this dream has stuck with you for 5 years, or going on 5 years, means that it is very much alive and it has wanted its share of attention, if you will. Do you think we got somewhere?
Yes,
Okay.
definitely.
All right. So the next thing that I like to ask anybody where we've worked a dream together is, what can you do to honor this dream? And what I mean by that is, what concrete thing you can do or make or create, or a ritual of some sort that you can do to respond to the dream, to acknowledge what you and I have done today, to acknowledge any insight that you have gotten. And the things that I often suggest include making art about it, or drawing it, or reenacting something that happens in the dream in some sort of way, or having a ritual, light a candle about it, say a prayer about it, write a song about it. The possibilities are limitless. So does anything suggest itself to you?
Yeah, absolutely. I have an altar, and I have a morning and evening meditation practice. So what comes to me is really just getting a piece of paper and drawing the graph of time and space,
Mhm.
and writing love all over it, and just making this ritual of keeping it by my altar and then folding it before every meditation.
I think that is brilliant. That is absolutely brilliant. I just have to let you know this dream has affected me very
Mm.
deeply. It's a very beautiful dream, and I will hold it close myself. I have my own image of the sky and the sea. So I really, really thank you for sharing this with me today. Is there anything left undone or anything left you'd like to know about?
Yeah, I've always been so kind of, I guess, slightly confused about how serious she appeared in the dream,
Mhm.
because she really had like this like full on grandma energy, like every time she saw me, like arms in the air, huge smile, like calling me by my nickname, just she always had this like excitement all the time. But in the dream, it was always so confusing, because she didn't look at me and she was so serious, which I mean, I've only ever seen her like that, I don't know,
Mhm.
at like a funeral.
So let's talk about that seriousness.
Hmm.
And so this is something you've only seen her do at, for instance, a funeral. Otherwise, she would be very open, and this wasn't like her at all.
Yeah,
Okay.
correct.
Okay. What springs to mind immediately is that, in fact, you had just had a funeral,
Yeah.
and that might be more of a reflection on your sadness and seriousness. It just got reflected from her in the dream. Because here's what also happens sometimes in with grief dreams is that as the grief process continues, early grief dreams are sometimes a little out of norm, if you will. And then as the grief process continues and there comes that acceptance that this person, is no longer in this life, the dreams get lighter and lighter. Have you dreamed of her subsequent to this? Have you dreamed about her anymore?
Wow, I honestly, I can't recall. I feel like maybe there's been maybe two, but
Hmm.
yeah, almost not at all since that dream.
And did she show up, if you can recall, if she made an appearance in any other dream? Was it as serious as this, or was it different?
It was different. It
Hmm.
was just like she was in
Yeah.
her life. Yeah.
So so one idea about this, and again, our dreams can speak to us on different levels at the same time. So there's this great cosmic message that she's giving to you, which is and you use the word awe, and sometimes that brings with it a kind of seriousness. So that's one level of it. But also there's a seriousness around the fact that you were right in the thick of her death and her funeral. And so there's a seriousness there. And then later on, as you continue to grieve and can come, to terms with her not being in this life any longer, then she returned, if you will, to her remembered the way you remembered her.
Hmm.
So I'm wondering if this seriousness just had to do with the timing. It was a serious time.
Yeah.
It,
Yeah.
it it was a serious time, and this message that she brought you was certainly awe filled. So that's maybe one way of thinking about it and looking at it. And, happily she came back later on in your dreams, and she was a little bit more like you remembered her. I'll share with you that when my paternal grandmother shows up in dreams, which she does from time to time, even though she's been dead for 40 years, like I said, she had a great sense of style, her dress, the way she decorated her home. And when she shows up in my dreams, she is always fabulous. She's dressed to the nines and just like she would have been dressed. It's so interesting. When she shows up, it's like she is. Yep. Dreamer, thank you so much um, for sharing this very, very special dream with us today. I really, really appreciate it. And like I said, I'm going to take away from it as well. So thank you.
Thank you so much for unpacking it with me and helping me see it from different angles. A lot in there. Thank you.
And I think that your honoring of the dream it's going to be really important to see what you dream next
Mm,
after you honor the dream. Keep an eye on your dreams. Okay.
definitely will. Thank you.